Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 21 of the Law of Teaching. Can you believe it? I truly, every time I do this, I think, oh, 21 days, I've got all this time. I begin with the first conversation and I think, oh, we got all this time for it to unfold. And then in a blink of an eye, it passes. And I feel grateful every time. I feel grateful for the depth of information that flows through. I feel grateful for all of you in the community. And this is the first time that I'm talking about this law specifically in the series, I believe. I don't think I've spoken about this one before. But the law of teaching is quite sacred, and it's probably why most of you are here. The universal laws have an extraordinary power for awakening, and they awaken the desire to share information. Oh, yeah, I love it. I love to start all over again. So you can bet that I'm going to do this series again in a new way, and we'll keep expanding. But of course, this is what I love to share with the world. Now, I want to share a few stories today and bring us to the close of this series and really help us understand what the law of teaching is. The law of teaching is about deepening wisdom. There is a universal law that when we have experienced wisdom, when we've experienced the integration, when we've gone through the divine timing cycle and we've transmuted something. So we became aware of something. You awakened to your spiritual gifts. You awakened to your personal power. You awakened to the love of source. You awakened to you. You awakened to whatever you awakened to, whatever you experienced, whatever that growth was. You awakened to more money. You awakened to more love. You awakened to more connections, whatever you're awakening to. The transmutation process, as you come into the completion of that transmutation process, there's a desire that begins to emerge. There's a desire to continue to evolve. Of course, that's what's next. Continue to evolve and to love more, right? Especially if you've been awakening to more self-awareness, more self-love, you awaken to more of that. But there's another desire that's born, and the desire is to share it. There's a desire to be of service. Humanity is here to be of service to themselves, of service to each other, of service to the collective. That is coded in our pattern. So the pattern is, I become aware. I accept what wants to change and what wants to evolve. I take responsibility for changing and evolving. I move that out into action. I accelerate those actions. I transmute, and now I teach. So there is a shifting of energy that says, I want to share this. I am now of service. And that's how you take it to the next highest level. You become aware of something and then you share it. Now, the gift of this is you're sharing wisdom, and that wisdom deepens as you share it. So the more you speak it, the more you share it, the more you teach it, the more you embody it, the more you learn it, the more you fall in love with it yourself, the more the momentum carries forward. So I'm going to come back around to some of the elements of that, but this is a natural part of the law. So the law is when you transmute, when you move through divine timing, the result of divine timing is teaching. Now, it's a little bit different for everyone. Everyone's called to different types of teaching and different ways of sharing that information. Not everyone's called to be a teacher, yet everyone is a teacher. Everyone is teaching, right? So where this really starts to show up for us, I was thinking, I told you I wanted to share a couple of stories, a couple of things from my past to really understand my sort of discovery that I wanted to teach, because I didn't know that in the beginning. I knew that I loved to help people, and I was helping people in a corporate environment. And I knew that at some point I wanted to write or I wanted to share ideas, but I didn't really know that I wanted to teach. And in fact, I felt completely incapable of it. I felt incapable of sharing anything with anyone. So if you know much about my journey, in the beginning, I drank a lot. I experimented with drugs. I was overweight. I was unhappy. I experienced a very tumultuous youth. My younger years were fun. There were a lot of fun times that I had in all of that, but they were also very destructive. I was not a happy person. I had extreme anxiety. So when I began to change, when I began to awaken, it was literally like I look back and I have so much love for the version of me that was sitting on that couch. I was sitting in the basement on the couch, eating Doritos, drinking a root beer. And I mean, it makes me emotional now. I just think about how little I believed in myself and what was possible for life. And yet in that moment, I was watching an episode of Oprah, believing that maybe there would be some glimmer of hope, some wisdom, somebody loved me in the world. I felt like at that time, Oprah was quite popular at that time. This was in maybe 2001, 2002. And I felt this feeling as if Oprah really cared, that she really cared about humanity. And I felt that caring. I felt her teaching in that. I felt the love. And she had a guest on her show, Dr. Phil. Some of you guys know this story, but he recommended a book to me, Self Matters. This was my first exposure to true coaching. I had been in school for psychology. I had worked in corporate. I had taught people. I learned about training. I was training people in corporate environments. I loved to train people, but I had never experienced coaching. So this book, Self Matters by Dr. Phil, so good, but it's a coaching book. It's a book that takes you on a journey of being coached through the whole book, asks you all kinds of questions, you fill out assessments, you really evaluate your life. And I felt like I was being coached by Dr. Phil in this book. As I was sitting there on the couch, I went out and immediately bought the book, and I went on a journey. And it must have been a 6-month journey that I was really diving into this book. And at the same time, I made the decision that I was going to do something to love myself and to change my body. I was 100 pounds overweight. And I felt like if I just lost the weight, then I would be happier. I wouldn't be depressed. My life would be better. I would know what to do with my life, all of those things. So I began putting into action everything that I was learning, and I started to treat my body with love and respect and regard. And I began working out and walking and doing different things to really support my well-being. And I lost that 100 pounds. So in that journey, that was probably the biggest awakening to what was possible, the biggest moment, one of those milestone moments of that changed my story. Again, it's as profound as the moment the police officer grabbed my face and stopped me from my anxiety. This is another moment like that for me, where I can look back and I have some of these key moments, and likely you can too, right? There are moments in your life where you're like, oh, that interrupted things, that shifted for me, right? It's a lot of why I love working with you guys in Mindshift. I feel like Mindshift is one of those milestone moments. It's like being able to help you pause from your experience and say, look this way, don't keep going the other way, look this way. You have source flowing through you, right? I wanted to recreate that milestone moment. So I lost that weight. I ended up being invited to the Dr. Phil show. So I appeared live on the Dr. Phil show in 2004 and was able to share my story of falling in love, reading that book, and making a radical change in my life, which opened me up for coaching, because I had people reach out immediately after that episode aired, and they asked me, help me. Will you help me? Will you guide me? Will you coach me? So I started writing a newsletter for everybody. I would send them a message, and here's, some tips. Here's some things that you can do. Here's a little love message. Here's a recipe. Like, it was just this little wellness newsletter. And soon after that, I went to school for coaching and got my certification 4 or 5 times over in different ways, became studied nutrition, holistic nutrition, and began supporting people in that way. And that was the beginning of my coaching journey. And I'm so grateful for it, that this wisdom, that this teaching wanted to rise up, that not only did I feel called to share it, I felt called to share it on Dr. Phil. I felt called to teach. I didn't know it was teaching, but I felt called to share. And then people felt called to ask for support. And then that created this snowball that really revealed to me my purpose in teaching in a really specific way, nurturing, helping people, coaching, right? And so most of you who are watching the series, you've been called to teach. It is a calling. It is something that calls from within you. Not only are you called to share, every human is called to share. But there's something else that rises up in those who have a purpose that is designed to help awaken, help with the awakening, especially at this time. But there's always a period of awakening that's happening on the planet, right? So in that awakening, you're called to share. You're called to teach what's next. That's how it was for me when I came across the universal laws and fell deeply in love with understanding that I had been called to teach, right? I remember another milestone moment, sitting on the couch again with my family, watching The Secret, right? I remember saying in that moment, watching that movie, it was 2006, I'm sitting on the couch, and I understood the law, like I was tapped back into the law. But what I wanted was to be one of those coaches that was teaching it. I knew it. I was listening to them talk about the law of attraction, and I was like, I understand this. I get this. I want to teach this. I want to go deeper. They're missing the vibrational piece. They're missing the piece about how I could see it. Like so many of you, when you watched it, you could see it. I'm getting so excited. It was such a shift, right? And for so many of you, it was. And I feel like here we are in this community and you're watching the laws. And so many of you are like, oh, yes, I love this. I remember this. This is true. And the work that I do in this way and that way, this has been my experience with the laws. And I want to share that with others. I love when people come through Mindshift and learn more about the laws, and then they message and say, I want to share this with my students. I want to teach this. I want to bring it out in my way with them. And I celebrate them doing that, because we are called to teach. We are called to share it in our own way. And so maybe you've been watching this series. Maybe you've binged this series. Maybe you've binged all 3 of these series with me. Maybe you love the laws. Maybe you love coaching and supporting. Maybe you love being of service. Maybe you don't even know what's being stirred. You just love the laws. You can feel it calling you. I want to tell you something. You're called for a reason. You're called to help with the momentum of awakening. And some of you might be asking, well, Joy, you teach the laws. Why would you want anybody else to learn the laws this deeply? And, why are you calling us to the teaching of it? Well, it's because in order for us to create momentum in the world, in order for us to awaken the world, it takes a hell of a lot more people than me. It takes the momentum. And so here's the other thing that comes up with teaching. Here's the caveat. Here's the thing that what happens with the law is, in order to teach, you must believe that you are teaching from a place of source. You're connected to source energy. You're connected to the laws, and that you understand that you will teach nothing new. What these laws are, you're going to describe them. You're going to share them with the world, and teaching, not just the laws, but teaching in general. Oftentimes people feel the insecurity of, well, hasn't it been said already? Isn't somebody already doing it? Yes, they are. And they need you to do it too. And you need you to do it too. And the world needs you to do it too. The momentum of that. In order to create the momentum of awakening and the momentum of change, we need more people teaching it. I love this about astrology. People love astrology, right? Astrology is amazing. And how many astrologists are there in the world? Thousands, hundreds of thousands. I don't even know. There are so many. And yet there's so much to uncover and discover in astrology. The same is true with numerology, right? Numerology is just beginning. There are so few people teaching it. And yet the more we teach it, the more the world begins to understand, and we create a momentum of awareness. Right? So we're all sharing, we're all bringing a new perspective. Without it, we aren't shifting the world, because each of us is coded to express in a new way. So you're called to express your way, to be a part of the momentum, and to express it the way that you express it. So teaching isn't about knowing. Teaching isn't about having all of the wisdom. It isn't about knowing everything. The law of teaching is, I'm willing to understand this material even more. So I had a breakthrough. I have an awareness. I've learned something. I have something to give. I have this part of my journey to offer, and I'm going to offer it and be of service. And as I offer it of service, I'm going to be able to create a ripple of change by my willingness to know it more. Not to worry about what I offer, to know that, of course, I offer what I have humbly with whatever wisdom I have in whatever way that I express it. It's more about, am I willing to know it more? Am I willing to deepen through the teaching? One of the biggest surprises that people have when they come in to teach the brain game is they thought they understood the brain game until they taught it. And then it opened up and came alive for them. So if you want to know something, teach it. And if you want to know it even more, teach it even more, and teach it again and again, and know it more and more and more. Every time I teach the laws, I know it more. Every time I work with the laws in my life, I know it more. This is why we want to share. Right. And of course, there are pieces of that. We are not called to force feed people information or to require people learn anything. We're here to share and invite people into our journey. So when that calling arises to share, you're intended to share. You share with people. You invite people to come and learn with you. So I'm going to invite you to come learn with me. I'm going to invite you to come either learn with us at the event that we have coming September 10th, 11th, and 12th, or I'm going to invite you to reach out to me directly and say, I want to learn more. I want to deepen. I want to participate with the brain game or numerology or mind shift. I want to deepen that. I want to deepen my understanding. I want to learn it, or I want to teach it. I feel something in me rising up right now in this conversation, something that says, I connect with what you're saying, and I want to bring me to it, to this information, and I want to know it more. And not just here, I'm inviting you into that here. But if you feel this pull anywhere, this is the law of teaching calling you to deepen your awareness, to calling you to deepen into more, into your willingness to understand. So don't be afraid of this desire to share, this desire to teach. Even if you're like, I'm not sure that I'm a teacher, there's a reason you're being called to the deepening of information, and it will reveal itself to you through divine timing. You'll just go to the next level with it and discover how it wants to move out into the world. So the law of teaching, you will always be called to the next level of sharing, the next level of deepening. And some of you will be called to do that ongoing, to commit to that pathway. And if you feel called and committed to that pathway, I want to have a conversation with you. So please message me. Please let me know. And I adore all of you. Thank you so much. I don't really want to end the series, but I know ending the series makes it possible for me to do what's next. So I love you. Thank you for being here. And I'll put my information so that you can just message me. I'll give you my email, and we can go from there. Or you can go check out the website. I'll put a link to that as well. Or have an extraordinary life until our next conversation. I can't wait. Bye for now.